Yeah.
So Grandpa in his service, um, I was thinking about some of his stories
Mm.
about because there were certain stories Grandpa would tell,
Yeah.
but you know,
Well, there's a couple. I mean, all of them he told me meant something, you know,
yeah,
different stuff. But one of the most heartbreaking ones was the one that where he went with this guy, and I don't remember if it was Columbus or where it was at, but they were getting ready to be shipped overseas. So he went with this guy. He said, "I gotta go tell the wife goodbye." He had a little girl, about 5 years old. So he said he went to say goodbye, and he told this little girl, he goes, "You won't be seeing me anymore." Like that. And Dad said when he walked away, he goes, "Why did you tell that girl that?" And he goes, "Because I don't expect I'll make it." He goes, "Well, I have every plan in the world of coming back. You know, I do. I mean, I'm going to make it." Well, they went through the war together. I mean, they moved pretty much when it was over. So they were walking down the road, and of course they had their carbines and stuff walking down the road. And the guy pulls up. These guys, a couple of them in a jeep, pulled up beside him and says, "You guys want to lift?" And he said, "Yeah, heck yeah." They walked across Europe, you know. And so they got in this jeep, and he said, "We got to go down the road here." And they got a couple of wounded soldiers they got to pick up. They had those stretchers on the front fenders, you know. So they went down there and they loaded these guys up and stuff. And Dad said he got in the back of a jeep, you know, they're just little bitty place. So he sat down. And he got over like this, and this guy got in and sat down here, and he set his carbine down like this, and went off. It went off and hit him right under the chin, like that. And he said it just went boom, like that. He just went. So his head slumped forward, blood run out of his ears. That was it, just like that.
right beside him.
Right, he was right beside him. He was sitting right there.
Yeah.
You know, they was bumping shoulders, you know, crowded. He sat down and said, pop, and it went off and hit him right. He said, hit him right under the chin. Just poof, right up, and that was him right there.
Remember the story about getting mortared with the 3 or 4 guys?
Bilodeau.
Bilodeau. Yeah, I was thinking Barbeau, but Bilodeau.
Bilodeau, little Frenchman.
Yeah.
And yeah, they said they were walking along. Dad had got field promoted from private to sergeant. The sergeant got killed, and Dad,
because he was older.
he was about 26 years old. So he was considered an old man to some of the kids that were 18, 19 years old, you know, stuff. So he was considered an old man to them. But Dad was, you know, in charge, and they're walking along, and he said there was about 20 feet between them and stuff, single file. And he said always spread out and make them single file. And they're walking along, and the Germans started shelling. The shells started coming in. So they hit the ditch, and he yelled back, and there was him and Bilodeau. And he told Bilodeau, he said, "Bilodeau, so run across that field and direct our artillery away from us." "Kelly, you go to hell." You know, there ain't no way like that. And he said about that time, he heard a boom right behind him, right behind Dad. And so he yelled back to the guy behind him. He goes, "You okay?" And he goes, "I can't move my legs." And he said he looked back, and Sean quit and looked back, and where Bilodeau was just a steaming hole, just steaming big hole there. So he went over there, and he said his guts was all blowed into the bank and stuff, and he just blowed him all to pieces. And he said they got regrouped, and they went down the road about a quarter of a mile, and there was Bilodeau's head laying in the road, blowed off right behind the ears. So he was laying right there in the road. So he hit him. He said he just blew him apart, but his head landed about a quarter mile away and stuff. He's seen a lot. I mean, a lot. They jumped in the ditch one time, and he said it snowed. That's when Germany had the worst winter ever. You know, it's a history-making 50-year winter. He said guys froze to death, and they dug holes in the snow and slept together and stuff just to try and stay warm. They jumped in this ditch, and something hard under him, and he breaks the snow away, and there's a dead German laying right under him, laying there. He froze stiff, you know, so stiff, but he said he couldn't move. They were shelling, and he stayed right there.
He went through the guy's pockets.
Yeah, he did. He just got up and left. One time he said there was a...
I remember he went through a guy's pockets there. He thought he didn't realize the guy was dead or something, and the guy had a picture of his wife and a letter that was all in German.
I don't doubt. Yeah, I don't doubt that. Yeah. He. So what was I going to say now? I lost it real quick.
Thought train derailed.
Yeah, thought train derailed. He. One of the times he went into service with an old boy named Edo Lucky from Columbus, and he said they went overseas together. And I was sitting there talking to Edo at the Red Cedar Lounge, and I said, "Edo, do you remember when you guys went over?" He said, "Oh yeah." He said, "We went over together," and he said when we got over to Germany and stuff, they got separated, and he said it was about 3 or 4 months later. He was walking along. Edo said he was up on this big old hill, and he's walking along, and he said I heard this voice go, "Hey, Lucky." And he said, I turned around, and he said, "There's your dad." He said, he's leaning back in his foxhole. Wolf, he said, Burge, my God, what are you doing? He said, well, we're getting ready to take this little town out. There's a little town below this hill. He said, they're waiting on artillery. He said, they're going to go down and take this town out. And he goes, and he said, pretty soon, here come the shells. American shells come flying into this town. And he said, oh, I said, all right, I got to go. So he run up, and he said, I just said, well, he said, that place was just blowing up. And he said, your dad went right down through the middle of it. He said, he just run right, and he just disappeared in there. And I said, well, so long, Verge. He said, about 30, 40 minutes later, here he come running back out of it. He said, that was the damnedest thing I ever saw in my life. He said, I kid you not. He said, he run right down the middle of that, and I'll be damned, 40 minutes later, he come running right back out. And he said, they took him down there and they cleared it real quick, and out he came. He said, he said, that's the luckiest SOB we ever saw in my life.
So when he says, you know, I don't know if I killed anybody or not, odds are when you go into something like that,
Oh, yeah.
there's not a welcome wagon waiting for you
No.
in a village full of
Not
Nazis.
by far, yeah.
So,
Yeah. And see, part of it, if you remember, the 101st Airborne, they got caught. They made the movie and the book. The movie
Band of Brothers?
Band of Brothers. Okay, that's the 101st Airborne. They were caught in Bastogne. And there was 5 entrances to Bastogne. And the Germans had they were in the middle of it. The 101st Airborne was caught. And the Germans surrounded them. There wasn't no getting out. So Patton sent the Third Army, his Third Army, in to help him. Well, that was part of Dad's Third Army. I actually came across an article on the internet, a guy talking about it, and he said the 345th Infantry, which Dad was, and Headquarters Division, Dad was Headquarters Division. They held in a house. They made the house their headquarters, and I thought, whoa. I said, that is cool, because Dad was part of that division, a part of the headquarters. So he had to have been there. I mean, he was there. Wherever this guy was talking about, he was there. But they're the ones that went in and fought the Germans to free the 101st Airborne.
which by the way, even when you like watch Band of Brothers or you listen to any of those interviews, they always say that they didn't need help.
Yeah, bull.
They resented the fact that, you know, they needed to be rescued because they just had that much pride about stuff. I mean, they were tough.
Oh,
guys.
that was a heck of and a lot of true stories and stuff. But yeah, bull. Patton said that it wasn't for the Third Army, the Germans were coming in on them. I mean, they'd have slaughtered them.
They didn't like the idea that they
No,
needed rescue.
they didn't like. They were rescued, and that is one of the major battles that Dad's got one of the ribbons, and on it is a little brass star. And he should have had 4 of them, but each one of those represented a major battle. One of them was Bastogne, one of them was the Bulge, and something else.
Ardennes.
Yeah, he was in the Ardennes and stuff. But when the Battle of the Bulge hit and stuff, Dad said where a lot of the guys, Americans, were killed was because it was in a forest. It was a forest. And the shells were hitting the trees, and the trees were exploding. They were killed by wood shrapnel. A lot of it was just trees blowing up and the
You
shrapnel.
remember Band of Brothers, watching those trees just disintegrate into toothpicks?
Yeah, that's what killed a lot of the guys was the trees exploding and stuff. But he made it through that and stuff. And there's numerous stories where this one lieutenant told him there was a crow's nest. Germans had a crow's nest in this road and
They were
stuff.
going. This is the one where they're going down in the jeep.
No.
No?
He
This one,
said.
okay.
He said. Told this one guy out there. Said go out there and take this out. So the guy ran out and brrr, they cut it
Yeah,
down.
they were in the jeep.
Yeah.
They pulled up. There was a blockage in the road.
They had a crow's nest in it.
Yeah, and then when the guy got out, because he said you go clear it, and when the guy got out, they just mowed him down.
Yeah, and he sent 2 guys out and they mowed it down. He told Dad to go. Dad said, I ain't going, no way. And he said, Kelly, you go out there. And said, go. He told him where to go. He said, I ain't going out there doing in there. I said, that's great. You already got 2 guys killed.
You can court-martial him if you want.
Yeah,
But that's suicide.
Yeah, he said, hey, I ain't going to do it. Well, they ended up, somehow, they got it out. But Dad said it wasn't too long after that, they were going along this hedgerow, and he found that lieutenant laying there dead. There was a sniper up in a barn, like in this barn. He shot this lieutenant, hit him right there in the groin, and he bled out right there. He said he shot him in the groin, he bled out. He said that same
See,
lieutenant.
I never heard that part of it.
Yeah.
What he told me was he said nothing ever came of it.
No, nothing came of that, but the lieutenant, he ended up getting killed. He just got
I
shot in the groin by a sniper.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, the guy, the snipers will tell you is they like to take out people that do a lot of pointing because
Yeah.
the guys that are pointing,
See, yeah.
those are the ones that are in charge.
See, Dad run a minesweeper at first. He was with demolitions. He run a minesweeper ahead of the crew and ahead of the tanks before the tanks ever got there. And he said he could walk along. He was going along running that minesweeper, and out of the corner of his eye, he'd look up and he'd see Germans in a crow's nest, just sitting there waiting, and they're waiting. But said they ain't going to shoot me. He knew they wasn't going to shoot him to give their position away. So he just slowly walked down the road, then he turned around, slowly walked back, like it's okay. And the Germans are waiting on him to come. Well, he'd get back there and say, "Wait, there's a crow. They're up there." He'd tell them, you know, that then they'd sneak around and stuff and go take them out. But he said there's more than once she saw him up there. He was watching out of the corner of his eye and stuff like that. He's looking around and stuff, running that sweeper and stuff. He missed a mine once. He said he missed it, and the tank rolled over and it blew the track off. And he got his butt ripped by a major. Major pulled up there and ripped his hiney real good because he missed that mine and stuff. But nothing come of it. I mean, and stuff. But he said he did see him up there. Then he come around a corner one time, walking and marching. There was a German tank sitting right in the middle of the road, and the tank goes the turret towards him. He started running up this hill, and the tank goes boom, boom.
This is where he had the lining in his boots. The
Yeah,
rabbit.
Rabbit. He took a skin old rabbit and he put it in his boots for a liner.
Because those boots weren't insulated.
No.
They were he was cold.
Yeah, they were cold. He ran up that hill and that tank shot at him 3 times and stuff. And he thinks that's when it was so cold out and stuff. He finally got over this knoll over the top where he could get out of the way. And I said, I bet those Germans are just laughing their ass off, you know, trying to shoot at a single guy with a tank, you know. But he got to the top there, and his lungs was hurting because he was breathing that cold air. He said he think he frostbit his lungs. And he took his boots off, and he'd wore holes through them rabbit skins. He said, oh my God, that tank was shooting at him. Boom, he said, shot at him 3 times before he got to the top of that knoll and get over it.